What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin, and before we get into anything today, I wanted to let you know that I'm going to start live streaming these games to hang out with all of you guys. My first ever live watch party of a Red Sox game will be on here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday to watch the Blue Jays game. So if you want to watch the game, talk baseball, talk live, talk whatever with me, I'll be there. So make sure you guys head on over to that. But anyways, we are recapping today the Red Sox home opening series against the Twins, in which they went 2-2, losing today's final game. And while there were a lot of great moments in this series, there were definitely a lot of also concerning moments as well. There were definitely things that need to be addressed if we want to stay competitive in this division. And we're going to talk about all those today. We're going to go over everything that happened in this series. We're going to talk about the highlights, the lowlights, and I'm going to try and fix whatever's going on with the Red Sox. Obviously, I have no control over it, but we're going to try and figure out what is going on. But as always, before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you have not already. We are only about 70 subscribers away from hitting that 1,000 subscriber mark. So if you want to help us out, hit that button. Also, make sure you guys have hit that like button as well. It helps out these videos a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Let's start by recapping all the pitching in this series, starting with the starting rotation for this series. We saw Pivetta, Houck, Wacha, and Hill. Pivetta was the home opener for the first game, and he did not look good. He only made it 2 innings. He got 4 earned runs against him, and I don't know what it was. I was there. I couldn't exactly see every pitch very closely, whether it was control or stuff wasn't breaking, but he was getting hit all around. I don't think this will be a regular occurrence for Pivetta. At least I hope not. So I'm hoping for a bounce back start from him in the next couple of days. Hopefully, again, this is not guaranteed, but I'm pretty confident that Pivetta will not have a lot of these games this season. Houck came out in game 2, and this is why everyone loves Tanner Houck. This is the exact Tanner Houck that we've all been kind of waiting for to see. He went 5 innings, allowed 2 hits, no earned runs. He looked fantastic out on that mound. He had a couple of walks, but nothing control-wise that was crazy. But unfortunately, that isn't the big news about Houck this week. The big news about Houck this week is that he is unvaccinated and will not be able to make the trip to Toronto with the team when they play the Blue Jays on the road. Now, I'm not going to try and get into politics or anything like that on this topic because obviously it's a big sensitive topic going on in the country right now. But what I do want to say are just straight facts. The Red Sox are going to be hindered going into those series in Toronto, and it's definitely going to hurt our chances of winning this division, especially if the Blue Jays can stay hot on offense. They are definitely the biggest opponent in this division regarding the offense. So to not have Tanner Houck is definitely a big blow to this pitching staff for the Blue Jays away games. Michael Wacha got the ball in game 3, and he, like Tanner Houck, had a fantastic game. He went 5 innings, allowed 1 run, and Michael Wacha, in my opinion, is everything that the Red Sox wanted him to be and need him to be so far. I love watching him pitch. He pitches really well. He pitches fast. Games are over quicker, and he just gets the job done. He eats innings. He doesn't allow a ton of runs, and if this is the way Michael Wacha is going to pitch the rest of the season, I'm all in on this. I'm very excited about him early on in the season. Rich Hill finished out this series, taking the ball in game 4, and did I really want Rich Hill to have a good game. If you guys didn't know, Rich Hill's father passed away this week, who was an avid Boston Marathon runner, for those of you who do not know as well. Rich Hill grew up in Massachusetts, so for him to be taking the ball on Marathon Monday after his dad, a marathon runner, who ran the Boston Marathon about 20 times, passed away, I thought the stars were going to align for something special. They did not. He got kind of tossed around, and Rich Hill is really starting to scare me. I talked about it the first time that he started, and yes, obviously there were some outside factors that probably had a hand in his performance today at Fenway, but all in all, the fact that he isn't a huge velo guy and the fact that he relies mainly on a curveball to get guys out is a concerning factor in a starting rotation, not to mention just his age. All in all, I'm very, very nervous about having Rich Hill in that fifth spot. And in my opinion, if there's anything on this rotation that we can change immediately, it is that 5th spot in this rotation. As for the bullpen was all over the place this series. I'm not going to say they were terrible because there were some great outings from a lot of different guys in this series. Whitlock obviously had a great outing. He always has a great outing. I will say this every time. I personally think he is the most talented pitcher in this pitching staff rotation or bullpen wise, and he just looks fantastic out there. Valdez had a couple of great outings as well. He came in to both games where the starting pitchers got knocked around a little bit, and he kind of shut down the Twins offense pretty fast. He didn't let up a single run in this series, so maybe he is starting to become a solid piece in that bullpen. And speaking of solid pieces, Matt Strahm had yet another solid outing for the Red Sox, and this is a guy like Waka who I'm really liking as a pickup so far. He's been nothing but solid coming out of the pen and was kind of exactly what we needed going into that 2022 season. But other than that, there were a couple of decent outings from Brazier. There was a couple of decent outings from a couple different guys, but there wasn't anything that like stuck out to me. In fact, what stuck out to me the most were the things that did not go well. Barnes had his first high leverage situation of the year and immediately got cooked. Sawamura came in and was pretty wild. And speaking of wild, Cutter Crawford had a really tough 4th game this series. He let up, I think it was 3 or 4 runs over 1.2 innings. While he has such good stuff and he can miss bats with his velo, I think he gets into his own head. He's a rookie. He gets in these situations where the ump wasn't giving him a great strike zone today, and suddenly he's walking 3 batters in a row. He's got wild pitches all over the place. Once he settles down, I think Cutter Crawford is going to be a great piece in this bullpen. Barnes, I think, is kind of over the hill, to be honest with you. I just don't think we can trust him in high leverage situations anymore. Sawamura, who is a guy who we knew didn't have a ton of control, but when he's on, he's on. All in all, bullpen-wise, like I said, I don't think they were terrible. They were kind of middle of the road for me this year. They were all over the place, yes, but they were able, for the most part, to keep the game within reach at most points. Yes, like I said, there were guys who did not. So I don't know if there's a immediate solution to this bullpen that comes by either a new player or getting rid of some other players. I think what the bullpen really needs is to just stay consistent. Last year they were inconsistent the entire year, and it ended up costing us a lot in that regular season last year. So my hope is that this year these guys are able to warm up and get going pretty quickly here and become more consistent. There are guys, like I said, like Crawford, like Sawamura, whose control you can really tell with the shortened spring training needs work, and so hopefully these guys kind of settle in within a month or so. Let's move on to the offensive side of the ball in this series. In my opinion, the biggest problem we faced this series was on the offensive side of the ball because we just simply couldn't hit in high leverage situations. There were, however, a lot of highlights this series on the offensive side. Verdugo had 2 home runs in this series. He is off to one of the hottest starts I've seen in a while. He looks fantastic at the plate. I called it in my 5 players that I think are going to break out this season, that Verdugo was going to have a really good season. I didn't see this caliber of season coming, but I really hope that he can keep this going because he's a ton of fun to watch at the plate right now. Devers is a guy that we are going to mention pretty much every single offensive highlight reel on Red Seat Radio. He has hit safely in 15 total games now, and he is just a ton of fun to watch. He lights the stadium on fire with home runs like he had in game 1 that brought us within 2. He takes bases on hits where he probably should have been tagged out 3 different times, but was able to avoid a tag 3 separate times. That was also a lot of fun to watch. Devers right now is the most fun Red Sox player to watch that I've seen in a very long time. Xander Bogaerts also came out of his shell in the last 3 games of this series, and I would like to thank myself for that because after game 1, I made a video where I said Xander Bogaerts has been terrible this season at the plate, and immediately he starts hitting bombs in game 2. He had a 2-run shot, and then for the last couple of games, he hit really well. Jackie Bradley Jr. is another guy I want to mention who I really didn't think was going to get into a lot of these Red Seat Radio highlight reels, at least offensively. But during this series, he had a bunt single, a couple of doubles, and he had a bunch of walks. I mean, Jackie Bradley Jr., for whatever it's worth, right now is not the problem with the offense. Trevor Story also had a couple of RBIs this series, and his power is starting to come back. He hit a couple of balls over 100 miles an hour. I'm very excited to see him fully wake up and get going at the plate. And Christian Vasquez finally had a game to remember this season, hitting a home run and a single in the last game of this series. All in all, I don't think there is a singular person on this team that I can call out right now and say, hey, this is the reason that the Red Sox are doing poorly in the late inning of games when the game is on the line. Everyone's kind of slowly starting to pick up the pace a little bit. The problem isn't with individual performances. The problem is that as a team, the Red Sox cannot put guys across the plate with runners on base right now, for whatever reason that is. If it's a shortened spring training, if it's a weird schedule in these first couple of games, if it's just simply that they're not seeing the ball well, whatever it is that needs to be fixed. And I don't think it's a simple solution like signing a guy like Conforto or trading away for a guy like Will Myers. I just don't think that that's going to solve all of our issues. What's going to solve our issues is time and patience. It sucks that the Red Sox aren't doing as well as we wanted them to do at the plate this year, but it is only 10 games into the season. I think a lot of times with us being such a big market team and such a passionate fan base, we are immediately ready to throw in the towel when things aren't starting out super hot. But I promise you, this offense is consistent. This offense is fantastic. This offense is a contending offense, and they will prove to be a contending offense at some point this year. As for the pitching and the bullpen, in my opinion, the biggest problem overall with the Red Sox right now is on the offensive side of the ball. So I think once these guys start getting going on offense, it gives up pitchers a lot more confidence going into innings. And so at the end of the day, I think it's a domino effect, right? Once the Red Sox offense is more consistent, everything's going to fall into place. Let me know your thoughts on that down below, as well as what you think the biggest issue with the Red Sox is right now. Do you think I'm right? Do you think it's the late inning offense? Do you think it's the ducks on the pond offense? Or do you think it's the starting pitching or the relief pitching? Is it the way Alex Cora is managing? Something isn't completely right with the Red Sox, and I want to know what you guys think of that. As always, though, if you've made it to the end of these videos, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure you guys have hit that like button as well. Helps out these videos a ton, and again, with the subscription thing, we are only about 70 subscribers away from that 1,000 mark, so help us out by hitting that button. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the next one.